All right, guys, so this is Salesforce Assignment 3, and let's jump right into it. All right, guys, so for this assignment, we're going to develop a grid of accounts which can be selected. Once selected and the Show Selected Accounts button is clicked, information from the selected accounts is displayed in the Selected Accounts table. And it's going to look something like this. So what we have here are two tables. We're ultimately going to have two tables here. And as you can see on the left hand side here, we have a table that consists of all of the accounts. In this table, we have three columns. We have selected, account name, as well as the phone number. So how we want this application to work is we want to first of all go into this application. We want to select a checkbox, and we also want to press this button, Show Selected Accounts. Once we do that, the accounts that we select in this left table will be populated here in this right table called Selected Accounts. And ultimately, it's supposed to look just like this. So as you can see, an account has been selected, and then the details associated with this account have been added to this table on the right. It's pretty straightforward. And without further ado, let's jump right into the code. Alright guys, so what we're going to do, we're going to jump right into this assignment. So the first thing that we need to do is create ourselves a class, which is going to look like this: public class Salesforce Assignment 3. And then what we're going to do next is we need to create a list that holds a list of all the accounts. So let me just add a comment here. And then we're just going to go public list a account and then account list. Get set. All right. The next thing that we want to do is create a list that holds a list of only the accounts selected by the users. So basically, we already have our list, which is going to hold the list of all accounts, but we need another list, which is going to hold the list of only the selected accounts. So we just want to, let me add a comment here just to make sure everything is clear. And also, let me see if I can zoom this in. Make it easier for you guys to read. All right, so we want to do something like this. We just want to go hold a list of the account selected by the users, of only the accounts selected by the user. And then we just want to go public list account selected accounts. All right, and the next thing that we want to do is hold the size or the count of the selected accounts. So basically, this is just used to keep track of the number of the accounts that the user has selected, because that's going to be taken into account once we press the button to transfer, well, not really transfer, but add those particular accounts to the table on the right that I showed you from my presentation. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so let's first of all add a comment. Holds the size count of the selected accounts. So you just want to go public integer value get set. So basically this here, this value, let me put a space here. This value is going to be the variable that we're going to be using to hold the size pretty much of these selected accounts. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is go in here and actually create a class that's going to keep track of the info associated with each one of these accounts. So we want to do this. Okay, it's going to be a class within this class. So I just want to go public class a account. Also, I'm just going to put a comment here so we don't. So basically, you guys can understand what's going on. All right. A class created to keep track of info associated with the account. All right, so basically for each one of the accounts, it's going to have specific information associated with a particular account. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. All right, so inside of this class, what we need to do is create data members that are going to keep track of the account and the selected status of an account. So we just want to go public account my ACC get set. And then we want to create ourselves another data member, public boolean selected get set. All right, so basically, sorry about that, but basically what's going on here is that we're going to have a class called aAccounts, which we have added up here. And basically, each one of these accounts, we're going to keep track of the status of the account as well as the account itself here. So basically, the status of the account is going to be a Boolean, which is going to determine whether or not it has been selected. And basically, we just want to be able to keep track of that so that when we press the button that I showed you in the presentation, these accounts are going to be added to the table on the right that I showed you. So that's pretty much all for that. Next thing that we want to do inside this class is this. All right, so this is going to be accessed by the Visualforce page. I'm going to write the code out right now. So we're going to go public a account A my ACC equals A selected equals false. Is not selected. All right. There's a list of all accounts. Okay. All right. So so basically we just have our constructor here, which is going to take in an account, and this account is going to be A. And we're going to pass whatever the account is into this my ACC. And when I start creating my Visualforce page, you're going to actually see how this is going to be used. And also, I created this selected Boolean up here, and I initially set it to false because when you first enter the page, each one of the accounts are going to be set to false because the user has not selected any accounts at all when you're first running this application. But this can change based on the account that the user selects. So hopefully you guys understand that. Like I always say, if you have any questions, go ahead and just leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible if you're not fully understanding what's going on here. But that's pretty much how that is supposed to work. All right. Let's see. The next thing. All right. So the next thing we want to do is actually make our way out of this class. And then we want to create ourselves another method. So initially we were just inside of this class here, but now we're making our way back into this main class that we have up here. Which is here. All right. So we want to add a method now. This method is going to return a list of all the accounts. So basically what we're doing here, we're going to be populating the table on the left side. So this is what we're going to be doing right now. Method that returns list of all accounts. You just want to go public list a account get accounts. It's going to be a method, open and close curly braces. And from here we just want to go if account list equals null. So what I'm doing here, I'm just checking if the account list is equal to null. I want to first of all check for that. And if it is, then I want to create myself a new account list. I want to create myself a new account list. So let's go through this one by one. Account list equals new list a account. List. Let me just type all this out, then I'll explain it to you guys. Just give me a second. Select name, phone from account. Order by name. For account A, test. Account list dot add new a account. Then after this, all right. You just want to return account list. All right. So just like I said before, we have a method that returns a list of all of the accounts. And inside this method, we first want to check and see if the account list is null. And if it is null, we want to create a new list. And initially, the list is going to be null, but we want to create a new list. And then from there, we want to create another list called, we're just going to say test, but we can name it whatever we want. And we want to set this equal to the results of this SQL query. So we're going to go and search in this in the database and go select name and the phone number from accounts, and we want them to be ordered by name. So this is basically what the list is going to consist of. It's the name as well as the phone number for accounts. And then what we want to do, we want to iterate through the results that we get back from this SQL query, and then basically just add it to this account list. The account list has nothing in it, but what we're going to do, we're going to go to this SQL query, execute it. This is going to be, and after everything is executed, there's going to be a list that is going to be created called test. We then want to iterate through this test list and add each one of the accounts to this account list here, which is ultimately going to populate the account list. And then from there, we're just going to return the account list, which will consist of the accounts that we just retrieved. So that should be pretty straightforward. Hopefully you guys understand what's going on there. Let's see. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep this going. We're going to create another method now. But first of all, I'm going to detail what this method is going to do. This is a method that adds account selected by user to the selected accounts. Selected accounts list. I'm also going to set the size of the selected accounts in this method. We're also going to check if account is selected or not. So the first thing that we need to do is type public void process selected. After this, you want to just go selected accounts equals new list. So I'm sure you guys know where this selected account comes from. It comes from what we created up here, holds a list of only the selected accounts by the user. So now we're gonna go about populating and adding the logic of how this particular list is going to be populated. So basically, we're just going to create a new list here, and then from there, we're going to create a for loop for a count ACCT get accounts. We want to open and close curly brace here, and inside of here, we're just going to go if ACCT dot selected equals true. Then we're going to do something. I think you guys kind of understand what's going on here. Create a for loop here, and we're going to iterate through this list, and we're going to check and see if the accounts.selected equals true. All right. Because basically this Boolean is going to help us keep track of which accounts are selected or not. All right, so inside of this if conditional, we're just going to go selected accounts.add acct.myACC. And that's pretty much all we need in that particular if conditional. After this, we're just going to go value, which is going to be associated with the size, and we're going to set this equal to selected account dot size. All right, so this should be pretty straightforward. Basically, you know, we have a method. Just to go over it once more, we're going to have a method called process selected, and we're going to have this selected accounts, and we're creating a new basically just a new list. From there, we're going to iterate through each one of the accounts, and we're going to figure out if the accounts.selected equals true. And from there, if it is true, we're just going to add this to the selected account. So my acct.my yeah. So basically, we're going to add this let me see. Yeah. Okay. So basically here, if it is selected, we're going to add the account pretty much is what this is saying. All right. So let's continue. And then we're basically just going to add our final method right here. Method that will return the list of selected accounts. And this method goes like this: public list account get selected accounts and then from here we just want to add this: if selected accounts dot size is greater than 0, then we want to do something. Return selected accounts else return null. All right, and this is pretty much it. So here what we have a method, just like I stated before, that will return a list of the selected accounts. And what we're doing here, we're checking if the selected accounts size is greater than 0, then we want to return the selected accounts. This basically means that if the user selects one or more accounts, then we want to return those selected accounts to the table on the right side. And if it's not greater than 0, then we just return null. Nothing is going to be returned because there's no account selected, so the table on the right wouldn't have to be populated. And yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the Apex class goes. Alright guys, so before we jump into this Visualforce section, I noticed that in my Apex class, when I saved the file, I was getting this error here. Basically, it was an error, it was a compile error, unexpected token public at line 53, column 1. And the reason this happens is because I'm missing a couple of curly braces. So the first thing that you need to do to resolve this is just go down to line 45, or yeah, so basically on my machine it's going to be line 45 right under the, or wherever the end of your get accounts method is, and then simply after the return we just need to add a curly brace there. I'm going to save, and then we're going to get this error here. What we need to do is just simply scroll all the way to the bottom and then add a curly brace at the end, and then from there scroll back up, press save, and you should be able to save properly. Alright, so next thing that we're going to do is jump right into our Visualforce page, which can be found right here. And I'm going to zoom this in for you guys. And then we're going to start coding now, the Visualforce page. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is create ourselves a tag Apex page. Apex : page. And then we just want to go controller equals Salesforce Assignment 3, which is going to be our Apex class. All right. It's probably a good thing to also just close this off. Apex page. So what I think you guys already noticed, but basically when we put together a Visualforce page, we're basically just creating the structure of this page, and we're also going to have the view of this page interact with the Apex class that we've put together right before this. Next thing that we need to do is create an Apex section header. Apex : section header title. Set this equal to Salesforce Assignment 3. Then on an Apex form, and yeah, this form is also going to be closed off. All right, now inside of this form, we're going to have ourselves a page block. And inside this page block, we're going to have an Apex page block button. So in this command button, we're going to have a value. We're also going to have ourselves an action. And we want to set this action equal to this. And then from there, we can just close it off like that. All right, so what's going on here is that we have a command button, okay? We created a page block button element, and then from there, inside of here, we have a command button. The value or the text that is going to be displayed on this command button is going to say show selected accounts, and then the action is going to be equal to process selected, which is a method that we created in our Apex class, which is going to check and see if an account is selected or not. So basically, if the user selects or marks the checkbox next to an account as selected and this button is clicked, what's going to happen is that that account is going to be added to the table on the right. I think that's pretty much it as far as this page block button element goes. Then we just want to close that off. Let's not forget that. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is this. Let me just write a comment here. In our table, we are displaying the we're going to be displaying the C contract record. So basically, we're going to be grabbing information from there. Now we just need to go Apex page block section equals to, well, yeah, we're going to have two columns here, just like I showed you guys in that presentation. And while we're at it, let's just close this off. All right, so inside of this page block section, what we want to do next is create ourselves a page block. So we want to go Apex page block title equals all accounts. And then we also want to close this off, just like we do all our elements. And inside of this page block, we want a page block table. Apex value equals accounts. Equals A. All right, so basically what's happening here is that in this page block table, we're setting the value equal to all of the accounts. So as you know, in our Apex class, we had to use an SQL query in order to look up all of the accounts. So what's going to happen is that this table is going to be populated with those accounts here. And I pretty much just added this variable here to make it easier to reference those specific values from the results of that SQL query, so that I can just simply use it here in this Visualforce page. All right, and you're gonna see how to do that soon. The next thing that I want are the columns now. I want to create these columns now. Apex colon column. Header value. Set this equal to selected. Now this is the column that is going to consist of the check boxes. So that's for the column. Let me just close this off. Apex column. And inside of this column, we're going to have an input checkbox. Apex input checkbox value equals not a dot selected. So this is going to populate, well, this is going to determine which account is selected. So if a user goes onto the page and selects an account, each one of the checkboxes next to that account is going to be tied to that particular account on that line in the table. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. The next thing I want to do is access the contact values within our container wrapper. So basically, you know what? Let me just write this out for you guys. It's probably just going to make a little more sense when I do it. Apex column value equals this summation point a dot my acc dot name. And then we're basically just want to do the same thing. But for this, instead of name, we want to put phone. All right, so you can kind of visualize what's going on here. In this all accounts table that we have here, we have a page block of title and we have a page block table. So in this table, what we're doing, we're creating an input checkbox, which the user will be able to select. We're also creating columns that will be populated with the account's name as well as the account's phone number. Page block table, page block. And also, okay, so after this page block, we need to go about creating the selected accounts table. So that's what we're going to be doing next. So let me just try to organize these elements. To make it look, trying to make it look good. Apex page block title equals, you can guess what the title is? Selected accounts. So in this page block, what we're going to need is also a table, just like we did before. SA that I have here for the variable is just shortened for selected accounts. Now inside of here, we basically just need apex column value equals dot name. These are going to be in curly braces right here. All right. And we also want to do something like this. This will be the phone number. We already have our closing page block here, but we also need that page block table element there as well. So apex page block table. We want to close that, but have to have this leading slash to close it. Page block table. We got our column, and that's our page block. And I believe this should be it. Alright, so as you can see here, we have our apex page block, and we also have an apex page block up here. As I said, this is for the accounts, and this is for the selected accounts. Selected accounts, and this is going to be for just simply the accounts. Yeah, so it's going to look something like that. These are for the accounts, and this is for the selected accounts. And let's see. As far as this SA.name goes, as I said before, we have a variable here, and we're going to grab the name of the account as well as the phone number of the account. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. I believe it's pretty straightforward. You know, just like I said before, we have a button. It's called Show Selected Accounts. We're also going to have a table which is going to consist of 2 columns, which is basically going to consist of the so basically it's just going to consist of the name as well as the phone number, and it's also going to consist of this selected column here, but this is only for the accounts. But as far as the selected accounts, there's only going to be 2 columns here. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, like I always say, leave them in the comments below. But let's just go to save and see if we have any issues. Doesn't look like any issues. Let me zoom this out. Let's just see what happens. All right, so you can see we have our button up here, show selected accounts. We have all our accounts here in this table. This is the left table that I was talking about, and this one is the right table, the selected account. So I just click this Dickinson PLC. We go to show, and as you can see, the account name is populated over here, as well as the phone number for this particular account. Select another account. What's going to happen? This account is going to be added to this list as well. And this is pretty much it. It's a pretty straightforward Salesforce interview assignment, and hopefully you guys understand it. If you want, I can also include the Apex class as well as the Visualforce page in my Google Docs, where I can provide a link in the description of this video. Just let me know if you need that. If you had any trouble following it, I feel like if you just have these actual classes, it may be easier to reproduce, and you can kind of go through everything here. But I think this video is pretty straightforward, and that's pretty much it. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video if you've learned something here. And also, don't forget to subscribe. And see you in the next one.